Hello everyone, we are starting a new module today. We are moving on to module 3. So we are going to pick back up with some multiplication. We are going to be working with 6, 7s, 8s, and 9s. So in lesson 1 today, we are talking about the commutativity. We're studying the commutativity to find known facts of 6, 7, 8, and 9. So if we think back all the way back to Module 1, before we were doing time, before we were doing measurements and weights, we talked about the commutative property. But we talked about it with numbers like 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Okay, so when we talk about the commutative property, just a quick refresher, that means that when you multiply two numbers together, you can switch them around. The factors, you can switch the two factors around and your product, which is your answer, will stay the same. Okay, so we're going to practice that a little bit today. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, it's been a while since we've done some skip counting. Okay, so we're going to practice doing some skip counting with some bigger numbers. So it's okay if you guys don't have these down just yet, but it's super important to be practicing these. Okay, so let's start with our 6s. We're going to count by 6s up to 60. Okay, so count with me. I know it's kind of silly that you're counting with a video. Okay, but count with me, even if you're counting in your head or maybe you're counting in a whisper voice. Okay, by 6s. Here we go. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, 60. Okay, you can even go back in the video and play it again if you want to practice one more time. That's the one good thing about me being on video. Okay, now let's do 7s. We're going to skip count by 7s to 70. Here we go. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, 70. I had to stop and even think about my 7s because it's been a while since I've skip count by 7s. So it's okay sometimes if you mess up a number or forget a number, take that time to count 7 in between each of your numbers. Okay, later this week we will practice with our 8s and 9s, but we practiced this morning with our 6s and 7s. Very good job on that. Okay, so now this review talks about the commutative property, which I mentioned earlier. Okay, so it says write 2 multiplication sentences and 2 division sentences for this array. Okay, it's been a while since we've used arrays, so let's look at what we see here. Okay, remember when I say the word row, always remember that a row is side to side. A column is up and down. Okay, so for this array here, we have 2 rows of 3. Okay, so why don't you guys go ahead and pause the video. Okay, and go ahead and draw this array on your whiteboard or piece of paper. Okay, and then follow along with me as I write out these division and multiplication sentences. So I'm going to keep going, but if you need to stop and pause, go ahead and do that now. So we have 2 rows of 3. How could I write that as a multiplication problem? Okay, I could do 2 times 3. What could I do to find my answer? I can skip count by 3s, so 3, 6. Just 2 times, so 2 times 3 is 6. How else could I write this in a multiplication sentence? I could do 3 times 2. Does the 6 change? Nope, the product or the answer stays the same, but I can switch my factors around. So the numbers that I'm multiplying together, I can change the order and still get the same answer. Okay, now let's think about division. Think about when we do division, what number always has to come first? The biggest number, you're right. So in this problem, which number is the biggest? 6. So for our division sentence, we know that a 6 would come first. So 6 divided by, okay, does it matter which number we're dividing by? No. So I can take 6 divided by 3. Which number's missing? 2. Then I could also do 6 divided by 2 equals, which number's missing? 3. Okay, so all of these different problems I could write for 2 rows of 3. Okay, so that's super important to know for our lesson today. All right, so we're actually going to jump right into our problem set this morning. So go ahead and get out your problem set and turn to lesson 1. Okay, so as you can see, problem 1 on your problem set shows what's called a multiplication chart. Okay, so if we look at the chart on lesson 1, problem 1, the shaded numbers, so they're blue on my screen, but on your page I think they're gray. The shaded numbers along the left column, so right here, and the top are factors. So those are the numbers you're multiplying together. The numbers inside the chart are the products. So remember, so in the problem, well, we'll just do blank times blank equals blank. So these two are factors, the numbers you multiply together, and your answer is what's called a product. That's super important to remember. I know it's been a while since we've done that. Okay, so we're going to work together. This can actually be a really useful tool for you in the future. This is something that I'm going to have you guys hang on to so you can use it in the future when you're doing problems. So we're going to work on filling out our multiplication chart together. But first we need to understand how we solve these problems on the multiplication chart. Okay, so if we look, it's the same thing, I just switched my slide. So if we look, let's try and find the product of 3 and 6. So put your finger on the row labeled 3 and slide it to the right until it's also in the column labeled 6. So remember, rows side to side, columns up and down. So here's the row labeled 3. Here's the column labeled 6. So you're going to put your finger on the row labeled 3 and slide it to the right until it gets to this column. Okay, and then I'm going to put your finger on the column 6 and slide it down until it's row number 3. So the number in the square where the row and column meet is the product, which is already in there for us. So using the chart, what is the product of 3 and 6? 18. Okay, you guys don't have to do the circles and the lines. That was just me because I can't show you. I'm putting my finger on it. Okay, now let's locate the product of 6 and 3. So now put your finger on row 6 and column 3. Slide your fingers until they meet. So I'm carrying it over to column 3, and then I'm dragging my finger down until it gets to row 6. Okay, but we don't have the answer written down for that one, but hold on a second. On the last slide, we did the product of 3 and 6. So we solved 3 times 6 is 18. If I know 3 times 6 is 18, can I solve for 6 times 3? Yes, I can, according to the commutative property. The factors changed, but the product didn't. So 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, so now is where we're going to work together to complete the rest of our multiplication chart. Okay, so a lot of this for right now is just going to be you listening and following along with me. So this chart, you guys, I'm going to have you hold on to it so you can use it to help you with harder problems in the future. Now, our goal is that we can know problems, like for example, if I asked you to do the problem 8 times 7. Some of you might know that off the top of your head. At this point, a lot of us don't, and that's okay. That's why I'm going to let you use this multiplication chart to help you until it becomes a fact that you know off the top of your head. Okay, because we're going to move into, in this module, we're going to be doing a lot of problems with 6s, 7s, and 8s. And I know we don't all know those off the top of our heads. So this multiplication chart is going to be super, super important to keep in a safe place for you to use later. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the video, and then I'm going to start a new one with the problem set. So go back and check Seesaw. There will be another video where we're going to work together to fill out this multiplication chart.